Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy here, for nerds by nerds, hanging out with some of my Nerdarchy crew.
I'm Ted.
I'm Nate.
And today we're gonna do a quick short video about bounded accuracy and 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. It's a term I've never really heard about until more recently. It's been thrown around, but it's like the design concept behind this edition of D&D.
So it's a leaping attack?
No. It's leaping inaccurate. No.
Is it jumping from a tree and shooting a bow and hitting the target?
Well, that would be pretty cool. I don't think that's exactly what they mean.
Because I don't know. So explain it.
the way I understand it is it's basically taken the number crunch from other editions and said, let's dial this back. So it's bound, and then it's
Well, the accuracy part is basically everything you do in the game. So, for instance, you're looking at the fighter right now, and you're looking at the proficiency bonus. Everything in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons is you're either proficient or you're not proficient. There is no penalty for not being proficient, but you get a bonus if you are proficient. Depending on your level determines that bonus.
So if you make an attack roll, you make a skill check, you make a saving throw, your spellcaster's DCs, like all of that. If you're rolling a die, it's either affected or unaffected by your proficiency, either if you have it or if you're not. Yeah,
whenever the accuracy comes into play, because damage isn't affected by it. But it's the description itself kind of says that. So anytime it's an accuracy thing where you're trying to hit a target number, you get your bounded accuracy comes into play, and that's your proficiency bonus.
Okay, it's starting to come together.
It's really a great design mechanic. It's very simple, it's straightforward, and it works really well. And what it does for this edition, it means like I can use an orc as a monster at level 1 or at level 20. At level 20, they actually still have a chance to do something, and they're in the fight.
They're not going to kill your player, but they still have the ability to actually land an attack. They still have the ability to damage you. So if there's enough orcs will bring down a level 20 guy.
It brings into the mechanic, numbers matter. Even 1,000 people, 1,000 people versus a previous edition's level 20. You're like, well, if they're all commoners, I'm going to win.
You're going to cleave through them.
Yeah, I'll cleave through 15 in one round, and then
you have a third level great sword fighter, and he's got enough feats. It's like, oh yeah, I just mowed down a half ton of them because every time I hit one guy, I cleave everything around me. And then I take a step and cleave everyone around me.
I thought it's a bonus action or something, so it's only still in.
No. In 3rd edition.
Oh, 3rd edition. Yeah.
In 5th edition, all of that is limited. They've removed all of these
stacking
effects and essentially limitless possibilities. How many times have we said, oh, well, what about these two combinations? And we realize it doesn't work, and like, oh, they saw you coming.
Yeah, they figured us out. Yeah.
So it's like, there's still that training that we looked at from 3rd edition, and every single instance, it's like, nope, they already thought about it. It doesn't work.
So I do wonder why they started at 2 and not 1. So your proficiency bonus starts at 2 and goes to 6. And well, how does that work out over there? You've got the
first through 4th, you're 2, 5th through 8th.
Yeah, it's 5, 9. It's every 4 levels on top of 1.
Okay. So so every 4 after 1. It goes up. So it's very, very formulaic. It's very easy to use.
My opinion of why they started at 2 is because it's essentially it's a difference of either 5% increase or a 20% increase, since most things are based off of that D20 roll or that 1 through 20 number. If you're 10% better, it's a significant enough difference.
Well, yeah. Well, I just meant it only goes up by 1, but why they started the number 2 instead of the number 1?
That's what I'm saying. Because a difference of 10% is significant, whereas a difference of 5 might not be as significant.
So proficiency, even at 1st level, makes a difference, and it gives you an extra 10% chance over somebody who's not proficient.
But then, it means less as you gain levels. Because it's only going up by the 1,
right? Yes. But as you go up
it's
by
bounded.
As you go up in levels, it gets bigger, and thus increasing the gap between what you're skilled at and what you're not.
There's also a couple other places where bounded accuracy comes into play. What's really nice about it is I'm going to consult the DMG or the DM screen. Because they conveniently put these tables together, like setting a DC, the difficulty, because of the way the bound to accuracy works, your very easy task is DC 5, where your nearly impossible is a 30.
Yeah.
So
and that 30 is nearly impossible.
Well, yeah, unless you have expertise in that in a skill, yeah.
Okay, so let's say like, all right, let's take, all right, I'm a 20th level adventurer. I've got athletics and a 20 strength. All right, so therefore my check is a plus 11 unless you're using the proficiency die rules. So that means in order to make that nearly impossible task, you need to roll 19.
If you're expert at it, it goes down quite a bit, but it's still difficult.
Right. Now, if you have a rogue who's taken expertise, has a 20 dex, and you're trying to sneak past that dragon, and it's like, all right, well, it's going to be a DC 30 check because they've got blind sight and this and that. You're trying to stealth impossibly through his blind sight. All right, well, now you got a 17 to the roll, so you only need a 13 or better, and that's still less than 50% level, and that's a 20th level rogue with expertise and stealth.
It's the thing he's the best at.
Yes, yeah. It's as good as you can possibly get within the confines of the basic rules.
And you got a greater than 50% chance of messing it up.
Yes, because it's nearly impossible.
Yeah, exactly.
And those DCs are, like that. It caps it with the term nearly impossible. In third edition, we were talking about this last night. Like there was a DC 80 to swim up a waterfall. Yeah. Like in this edition, that's not feasible. No one's going to say,
it's not going to happen.
Like, even with a swim speed, you're not swimming up a waterfall.
Escape artist to slip through a wall of force.
I think there was a DC of something that had a 125, but
maybe that was it because
wall of force.
Yeah, but the stuff was ridiculous.
To give you that oomph for the bound accuracy thing, we're like, well, you should really be able to accomplish this. Well, then you have advantage or disadvantage based on the quantity of you should really be able to accomplish this, or you really shouldn't be able to accomplish this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that can actually add to it as well. Well, a moderate DC is 15. But you figure if you at first level, if you're proficient and it's your
Probably
best thing,
3.
and probably +3, it's your best thing, you mean a 10 or better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now if you go back to the example of the rogue that's sneaking, he can actually do it on an 8 or better.
Mm-hmm.
So it really they really dialed back on everything with 5th edition. I really like that part about it.
Yeah. If you're not proficient in something and you have no stat bonus, a moderately difficult task
is very hard.
You still have a 25% chance of being able to pull that off, and that still fits into the heroic possibilities. Whereas if you were to say, all right, well, if you drop that down to like a 3rd edition or Pathfinder stance, where it's like, all right, well, that moderate DC is now a 20 or a 25, you're only succeeding on that if you nat crit the roll.
Yeah,
that's
which is an annoying prospect for
no one wants to have that at first level, 10th level, or 20th level. I mean, it's not heroic.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is my opinion.
So overall, what do you guys think? Do you like bounded accuracy?
I like not messing with as much numbers as I have in previous editions, and that's the best thing I can say about some other editions.
Oh, and that's from Nate with a level 12 intellect.
I'm pretty much loving everything about 5th. I think dialing back the numbers. I mean, if you compare 20th level, fighter gets a +6 proficiency bonus, whereas in 3rd edition
that was 6th level,
a +20 BA. I mean, it was absolutely 6th level. They had +20. Then it was every 5 thereafter. So it was. All the way down the charts with all these extra attacks.
And the way they fix that is, hey, he's got extra attacks at his +6 proficiency when he's 20th level.
And
that's how he's more combat effective than the guy who might get 2.
And he's got cool things he can do, like action.
Ridiculous amounts of cool things. They just every level they get something good.
So, that being said, what I don't really care about not doing the math anymore. What I really like about it is, like, I can go into the monster manual or even the DMG for traps, and I can find threats and things. I get to use them in my game longer. Like, before it's like, well, this is useless, this is useless, this is useless.
Well, yeah, as you brought up about the orc, after a certain point, in previous editions, the armor class get so high that the orc is only going to hit on a crit, and then with the previous edition rules, you needed to confirm your crit. So like even if you rolled that natural 20, you probably
it's just going to be a hit.
It's just going to be a hit. It's not going to do the extra damage, so it's going to be even less of a danger, less of a threat.
And then you can just bump up the proficiency bonus.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't know what the plus is to hit for an orc. It's like probably 3 to 5. But
I want to say it's a 6.
But that's the whole thing though, is like being able to go into this book and use almost any monster at any level. I ran like a 9th level game for you guys, the Spelljammer game, and I was using things that were CR1 or lower. I really scraping the bottom, and you guys weren't in terrible danger, but they still had effect on you guys. They were still effective. They still worked. They still worked for the encounter, and at no point were you guys going to just go, I'm going to ignore them and keep walking because because you guys can't do anything to me. So a +5, you're just ye old basic orc, so at a 19, you hit 24. Getting those really high armor classes is just far less likely in this edition. You can build a character that way, but your ranger's not going to have that armor class. Your rogue's not going to have that armor class. Some of your clerics are not going to have that armor class. Your
spellcasters certainly.
You need to be like an armored mage and cast shield to get that kind of armor class.
You got to be a paladin or a fighter essentially. Yeah, the barbarian can get up there, but even still, not quite as much. No. And if you're talking about any kind of warrior that's fighting with a 2-handed weapon, well, it's even harder.
You've just shucked off the guaranteed 2 points off of the shield. Then there's the chance that it's magical, up to a +3. So there's a +5 maximum that you're getting rid of.
And now you use a group of orcs, and they're helping each other to get advantage, so that they actually can hit and do damage. They're actually viable.
Right?
Are they going to win? No.
Well, but it's not always the point. I mean, when you set an encounter, as the DM, you're always looking at, okay, well, what level of a threat is this supposed to be?
Essentially, like in previous editions, you could have been the tanky fighter and gone, I'm literally just going to walk through the army of orcs and accept all the attacks of opportunity to get to the war chief so I can cut off his head. And the chances are, by the time you got there, you would have taken
a couple scrapes,
a couple points of damage.
So, another thing with the bound accuracy, I'm still attacking the level 4 party, the almost level 5 party, with goblins out of the book. I gave 2 of them an extra scimitar to use, because it's a finesse light weapon, right?
Yeah.
So they've got a few with 2 scimitars, which is with still the 7 hit points a goblin averagely has, and that made all the difference. Just having like a few with scimitars, a few using bows, and some strategy, and they were still a competent fight against a group of 4 and 5 people. So the bound accuracy is really good for being able to use monsters for a long amount of time.
It makes
giving them character levels.
I think it makes the game more fun longer.
Yeah, because it increases the options that you have as a DM. As you said, a longer base. You can technically throw that single monster out there potentially earlier because of the way things work, and that there's definitely the chance of it being a deadly encounter, but you guys might be able to pull through. But then the lower monsters that people love and people like to use can become a credible threat.
Well, yeah, and that's it, because like there's very few flat out immunities to weapons. It's usually a resistance, so they only take half damage, and even the highest armor classes, there isn't very many where a first level character can't actually hit.
Right.
Yeah, there's a couple, but I want to say 90% of them they can hit it without rolling a 20.
The issue comes when you're going like ridiculous, when you get to the ridiculous stuff.
Well, yeah. So some of the dragons, or solars or things like that. So it literally works both ways.
So there's like 1 or 2 dragons. I think the red and the gold at ancient are at 24.
You just opened up the monster manual to what?
To Tarask is a 25. The legendary monstrosity, that the Titan, if you will. 286.
And Okay, a first level archer fighter, right? Can get a +7 to hit. He can hit that at an 18.
Mm-hmm.
So it just
first
goes,
level character.
Yeah, so that just goes. He's probably gonna. He's so boned after that, but you know,
unless it's magical, this thing is immune.
Okay. It is one of those few instances.
Yes. Well, I mean, it is the legendary Tarrasque. I mean, and that's the first three words. The legendary Tarrasque is possibly the most dreaded. Blah blah blah.
There's only, as far as I know, that means there's only 2 monsters that are immune to non-magic weapons: the Mummy Lord and the Tarrasque. Whole entire book. So.
And that's a lot of pages worth of.
Yeah, I think we talked this one to death. I love the bounded accuracy. I think it's a huge improvement for 5th edition and going forward. And it makes all the books, all the monsters, everything more playable. And what it does is when the power creep starts to come in, and it's going to come because it comes with every edition, it does hold it back some, at least. It gives us a little bit more breathing room. So with that, you guys, let us know what you think down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and share.
You can check us out on Twitter.
Also, patronize us on our Patreon account. And
with that, until next time,
stay nerdy.